In the Cerrejón region of Colombia, a team of scientists and paleontologists was excavating deep underground in a coal mine because this coal mine was actually formed due to a 60 million year old rainforest. That is why they were searching for the remains of ancient plants and animals in it. This place was part of a mysterious past hidden from the world, which the earth had concealed within its layers. During the excavation, the experts found something strange deep within the rocks. When the dirt was removed from it, it turned out to be nothing other than a bone. Someone said it was a crocodile bone. Some started calling it a turtle bone, while others believed it was the trunk of an ancient tree. But it was this very bone that later took science on a journey to a world where the largest snake ever lived, Titanoboa. This was no ordinary snake. It was 10 times heavier than today's green anaconda and even longer than a passenger bus. This snake was so heavy that if it tried to crawl on land, it would die under its own weight. So, where exactly did it crawl? A single ordinary bone led experts deep into the history of the Amazon, a place with a completely different landscape. What was the real reason behind Titanoboa's massive size? How did it hunt its prey? And finally, what happened that brought an end to its reign in the Amazon forests? Once again, welcome to ZemTV's videos. Viewers, the discovery of Titanoboa was not a sudden event. Rather, this process began in 1994. A local geologist, Henry Garcia, saw something strange in the Cerrejón mine that appeared to be part of a tree branch. At that time, no one paid much attention to it, and it was placed in a special box for safekeeping. Nearly a decade later, in 2002, another geologist, Fabiani Herrera, found a similar fossil here. The main purpose of these geologists was to research Paleocene flora in order to find out what the world's first tropical rainforests looked like. The real turning point in this story came in 2007 when these fossils were sent to the Florida Museum of Natural History. There it was discovered that it was neither a tree branch nor did its structure match that of a crocodile's spine. But when they compared its structure to the bones of today's anaconda and python, they were utterly astonished. This bone was 3 times larger and thicker than that of an anaconda. At this point, the experts immediately recognized it as a snake bone. You can imagine it yourself. On the right side is the bone that was found in the coal mine, and on the left side is the anaconda's vertebra. In the world of science, size is extremely important, and Titanoboa broke every previous record. Experts used mathematical models to estimate the length of the snake based on this vertebra. They observed that in snakes, the size of the vertebra is directly related to their total length. In other words, the size of a snake's vertebra can indicate what the snake's total length would be. The size of the snake calculated from the vertebra obtained through these calculations was between 42 and 50 feet, which is almost twice as long as today's anaconda. Titanoboa was not just long, its thickness was about the size of a heavy man's waist, and its bulk was so massive that it weighed as much as a sedan car. Almost 1,200 kilograms or 10 times heavier than an anaconda. A weight of 1.2 tons is impossible for any land snake today. This discovery created a sensation around the world because this was truly the king of snakes, which was later named Titanoboa. The real question wasn't how big it was, but rather the surprising thing was why it was so big in the first place. Why aren't today's snakes this large? The answer lies in the climate. Yes, snakes are ectothermic, meaning they are cold-blooded animals. Humans can generate heat internally to keep their bodies warm, but snakes depend on the temperature of their environment for warmth. A simple rule of biology is that the warmer the environment, the faster the metabolism of a cold-blooded animal. A faster metabolism means more strength, the ability to digest more food, grow quickly, and sustain a larger body. The discovery of Titanoboa not only introduced experts to a new snake, but also served as a thermometer for the climate of that era. Titanoboa's giant body was living proof that 60 million years ago, the temperature of Colombia's environment was much higher than it is today. At that time, the Earth's climate was so hot that the temperature stayed above 32 degrees Celsius day and night all year round. If the average temperature was that high, then obviously the humidity must have been extreme as well, so much so that even breathing might have felt heavy. It was a dense jungle that never got cold. This constant heat gave Titanoboa the power to grow so large. The Amazon rainforest of today, which already feels quite humid and hot to us, might actually be too cold for Titanoboa. If it were alive today, it probably wouldn't be able to survive in this rainforest, because the energy needed to sustain such a massive body could only be found in that intense heat. Now, obviously, to keep such a large body alive, it would have to eat just as much food. This raises the question, how did Titanoboa hunt? Did it, like the giant snakes in Hollywood movies, slither rapidly on land chasing after its prey? Absolutely not. With such a large and heavy body, hunting on land was out of the question. Even slithering on land would have been quite difficult for it. Gravity worked against its weight because the longer a snake is, the more it sticks to the ground, which means even more friction. Research has shown that Titanoboa was very slow, which is why it was not a land hunter but a predator of the water. It behaved exactly like today's crocodile. It spent most of its time in swampy waters because the water supported its heavy body, allowing it to float and, with the help of buoyancy, feel less of its own weight and move more nimbly. In deep swampy areas, it would lie in wait with only its eyes and nose visible above the water. It was an ambush predator, meaning a hunter that attacks by surprise. It did not chase after its prey but instead waited in ambush for long periods of time. It could lie in ambush in the water for hours, perhaps even days, without moving at all. Its body would camouflage so perfectly with the color of the water that the prey would have no idea it was there, and as soon as an animal came to the edge to drink, Titanoboa would strike with lightning speed. Scientists have estimated through biomechanical models that when Titanoboa constricted its prey, it exerted a pressure of nearly 400 psi or even more. This pressure is so great that it's like having two African elephants standing on your chest. Titanoboa didn't wait for its prey to suffocate. Instead, the pressure it applied would directly crush the bones and immediately stop the blood circulation, meaning the prey was finished in the blink of an eye. But what exactly did it eat? To keep such a gigantic body alive, it needed to eat a lot of food. In the tropical forests of 60 million years ago, Titanoboa's favorite food was large turtles and ancient giant crocodiles. Yes, back then there were even species of turtles whose size exceeded 8 feet. That is, a turtle as big as a snooker table. Titanoboa could grip such turtles in its jaws and tear through their tough shells. Its teeth were not designed for catching fish but rather for crushing thick bones. Similarly, the crocodiles that are considered terrifying in today's jungle ponds, back then even larger crocodiles used to be Titanoboa's prey. All these facts show that Titanoboa was the predator of predators in its time and the unrivaled king of the Amazon. Now, you might be wondering, if its girth was only as thick as a healthy human's waist, how did it manage to eat such a large turtle? Let me tell you here that the biggest challenge in discovering snakes is finding their skulls. A snake's skull is made up of very delicate bones that quickly break apart after death. For the first few years after the discovery of Titanoboa, experts only had its vertebrae, which made it difficult for them to accurately determine its face and hunting methods. But then, in 2011, an intern named George Moreno Bernal discovered the skull of Titanoboa in the Cerrejón Desert. This was a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. The skull proved that its jaw could dislocate like an anaconda's, allowing it to easily swallow objects 3 times larger than its head. Its brain was very small in size, but its senses were extremely sharp. It had pit organs that could sense the body heat of other animals, allowing it to hunt even in the dark. Also remember that water was not just a source of prey for Titanoboa, but it was also the most important thing for its survival. If such a massive body lived entirely on dry land, it would be crushed under its own weight and its internal organs would burst. Water provided it with support so it could lighten its load. In other words, Titanoboa's life was in perfect balance. Heat gave it strength and water kept its weight down. It was a marvel of nature that was absolutely perfect for its environment. But here, the question arises, if it was so perfect, so powerful, and had no natural predators, then how did these kings of the jungle eventually disappear? Why don't we see them in today's world? The answer is very simple but quite unfortunate. The world changed, but Titanoboa could not adapt in the same way. After the Paleocene era, the Earth's climate gradually began to cool. For us humans, a change of a few degrees is a minor thing, but for a cold-blooded serpent, it was a death sentence. As you learned earlier, Titanoboa's metabolism depended on the warmth of its environment. When the cold started to increase, its metabolism slowed down. The process of digesting its food took much longer and its strength gradually diminished. Now it was neither as agile as before, nor could it easily catch its prey. It wasn't just the drop in temperature, the entire ecosystem here changed. The swampy areas in the rainforest that were perfect for Titanoboa to live in gradually started to dry up. The swamps began to disappear, and along with all this, mammals drove the final nail in the coffin. Mammals began to increase in the world, and the prey that once belonged to Titanoboa was now divided among other animals. In the blink of an eye, everything became scarce for the world's largest snake. No swamps left, no warm climate, and no prey. Just a few degrees of cooler weather turned the world's largest snake into a part of history. We hope you will also like and share this Zem TV video wholeheartedly. Thank you so much for your loving comments. See you in the next amazing video.